I'm going to share the difference between a naturopathic doctor and a normal doctor and how that changed my life completely and my health as well. Okay, so let's get started. Now, I didn't know about naturopaths at all, even though I'm of Indian origin and we have allopath or Ayurveda, homeopaths, naturopaths, etc. I grew up in Dubai, and it wasn't kind of, I don't know, normal, I suppose, to have naturopaths around, at least in Dubai. So when I came to the US, I had a lot of health issues after I started working for Microsoft. It was very stressful. I had hypothyroidism, and I developed ovarian cysts and several, and then over time endometriosis. And anyway, so I had a lot of health issues, and I hit a point where I said, "Oh my gosh, I can't take this anymore." All they're recommending is surgeries, and I had other acne that would burst around my ears, lots of issues, and then. And I went to lots of doctors, gynecologists, ENTs, dermatologists, all sorts of doctors. And at one point also when I had an injury in my shins, and I went to an orthopedic and an osteopath, and I've been to a lot of regular doctors who are just basically allopaths, are what they're called, okay, are normal doctors. And their solutions were always, yeah, just apply these extremely strong steroids on your face, and the problem will go away. Or we'll take this chunk of muscle out, using surgery. Like what? Or just do surgery on your cysts, and yeah, they'll come back. We'll just have to get surgery for the rest of your life, once or twice a year, and so things like that, which was really crazy. Okay, so basically I got really sick of it. I got fed up, and I decided that I'm going to go see a naturopath. And that completely changed my life, because the one key difference between allopaths, the normal doctor, and naturopaths is that naturopaths really dig down to root cause. They do root cause analysis. For all the other techies out there who love that, you're gonna love this. And I did a lot of that, right? I was a software engineer, did a lot of root cause analysis. I was like, yes. Nobody used that word, but over time I figured it out. I'm gonna share more of that in detail. And then the allopaths, on the other hand, they're just about symptomatic matching, okay? What that means is you have an issue, well, here's a topical solution. Here's another issue, here's a topical solution. There is no digging down, finding what is actually causing it, okay? So all these scenarios I talked about, let's kind of dive into it one after the other, and that will give a better idea. So the first issue was I had hypothyroidism. Well, I don't know which one came first, that or ovarian cyst. It happened about the same time, actually. So in hypothyroidism, I went and saw a doctor, and they said, there's surgery, you can remove your thyroid, I believe is what they said, and then take thyroid supplements for the rest of my life. And then pretty much right after that, I saw a gynecologist for my ovarian cysts, and she did her, what is it called? Not an X-ray. It's the word's not coming to me. Ultrasound. And she said, yes, you have cysts. So I asked, okay, what's the solution and what's causing it? And same thing with my hypothyroidism, by the way. I asked, and they're like, oh, we don't know. Some people get it. So I asked, okay, what's causing the cysts? And she says, oh, we don't really know what causes it. Some women get it, some women don't. And okay, so what's the solution? We can do laparoscopy, which is this minimally invasive surgery, and we can just kind of laser it and burn those cysts off. So I said, okay, but we don't know what's causing it, so will they come back again? And she said, yeah, probably. Those who have cysts are likely to have cysts for the rest of their life. I said, okay, so what am I going to do? Like, your cysts come back in maybe 6 months or 8 months. You come back and you get another surgery done. That was insane to me. Who says that? How could? And I've seen pictures, actually only recently. I didn't at the time take a look at pictures online, but I looked at pictures of laparoscopy, and it's not like a needle poke and you're healed. I mean, it leaves really bad bruising and scarring. It's still surgery, and it still takes a day of being in the hospital, a week of recovery, right? So that was pretty much my low point at the time. I was depressed. I was really just, work was stressful. And I said, okay, enough is enough. I need to fix this. So, and I don't want to get surgeries done. So I remember going into Vitamin Life. It's a vitamin shop. And it was run by, or at least managed by, yeah, I think it was managed and owned by this lady. She was not a naturopath. She was a nutritionist. Okay, maybe retired. I don't know. She was an older person. I think in her 60s. So I went in there frantically looking around, seeing if there's something I could do on my own. And she walks up to me and she says, "So, what are you looking for? What can I help you with?" And I said, "So, I have hypothyroidism. I have this. I have all these issues, and they're telling I should get surgery, and I don't want to get surgery, and I'm trying to figure out what to do." So she says, "Okay, I have a couple of things here that'll help you. And have you thought of seeing a naturopath?" And I said, "Oh, do naturopaths actually exist in the US? I mean, I don't know." And she said, "Yeah, there's one down the road here. I can recommend you." So I took it down on my phone. I took her information down, and I took some herbs with me that day. I don't remember what it was. So then I scheduled an appointment. At that point, I was willing to try anything that's not surgery, because that just scared me. So I saw this person, I believe Jean Carlson, which, funny enough, she's not a naturopath anymore. All these years later, she left her practice to become a dark fantasy writer, which I find really funny because she's this calm, very meditative type of personality. So I guess yin and yang, right? After doing that for, I don't know, a decade, she decided to do something quite the opposite. Dark fantasy. Anywho, I saw her, and I will never forget my very first meeting. We spent almost 2 hours. It was like an hour, 45 minutes, hour, 15 minutes, something like that. 2 hours. And I know, because I have doctors in my family, normal allopaths in my family, and one of my really close friends, she's also a general practitioner at a hospital here. So I know that they're required to only spend 15 minutes, no more, no longer, with a patient. And if it goes longer, they have to write an explanation as to why and what was urgent or important. So that's how it is. So when she spent that much time, I was really surprised. And we really sat down, went through, okay, so tell me about your life, tell me about what you do, and how was it growing up, the type of foods you ate, where you grew up, the environment, everything, understanding what how my life is like right now. And just learning that, yeah, there's been a lot of stress, and I didn't learn in that session, but I learned also later through a naturopath, or maybe through my psychologist, that a lot of women who get ovarian cyst and endometriosis, I think it was 85% according to stats, have actually had faced sexual abuse in their past. So that was interesting. Anyway, so we sat down, and in that time frame, she actually drilled down to some of the root causes, and she says, "Okay, what else is going on with your body besides this? Just tell me everything else that's going on." And I said, "Oh yeah, I have this acne, and I think it's because of my scarves. I was thinking of not wearing it this way, and And so she took a look at it, and she noted everything else that was going on. And she said, "Okay, so this is all hormonal imbalance. The cyst, having a cyst, is a hormonal imbalance. This acne, actually, by your ear or jaw, is also a result of that hormonal imbalance. So we're just going to put you on some herbs, and that will help cleanse some of it out. And it's just that probably my liver is overworked and it's not cleansing. And and I also talked about how I have a really hard time breathing. Every morning I wake up, my nostrils kind of clogged, and I've tried neti pot and all sorts of stuff, and it doesn't work. And this was like just other general issues. And she said, yeah, that means there's a lot of inflammation in the body, typically, that causes that. And so there was a lot of things that came out of it. It's like, okay, there's hormonal imbalance and inflammation. So from that, we went on to, let's do a food test, a blood test, and see what, things I'm potentially allergic to. Because I told her I'm not allergic to pets, because I've done that allergy test. And then get started on some herbs to cleanse it out. So I remember starting on Women's Phase 1 and apple cider vinegar. I have to do a whole video on just apple cider vinegar. And actually, apple cider vinegar worked. I was taking 2 tablespoons a day. It was gross. It still is, but it worked so fast and so quickly that I could feel my cysts shrinking, and it was toxic, and it's toxic, I assumed, right? So I could feel the burn. So I told her, hey, I'm feeling the pain is so bad. So she said, okay, let's not do apple cider vinegar. My cyst was really big. It was like the size of my fist, actually. So she said, okay, let's just do the herbs, which will like slowly cleanse it. So the process is slower, so it's more tolerable. So I did that. And at the time, because I was going through so many procedures, it was, I took time off Microsoft. I took my 6-month FMLA leave, and because it was an intense process to go through. And then I did, what was the other thing I was going to say? So anyway, it was quite a few things that I was working on, and it was really interesting because only in a few weeks I noticed my acne kind of started to go away. My cysts did shrink because I did another ultrasound in, I don't know, 3 weeks, 5 weeks, something like that. And they're like, yes, your cyst has shrunk. And then within a couple months, it was gone. But it did take some time. It took me about a year of doing the herbs and then going back to apple cider vinegar, because once that cyst shrunk, then a couple small cysts kind of came about. And then after a year, it was all gone. I was pretty much clear of my cysts. So that was really impressive. And there was another issue that happened over time too, kind of in parallel, which was I got an injury. Maybe I should just do another video on Rolfing and natural medicine on that, okay? But for now, let's just stick to this. So I had another issue that came up about, I don't know, sometime many years later. And it was just, I was getting these boils on my body, okay, on my back, and they were super itchy. They started hurting a lot. And every time I would fall a little bit sick, that would come up. And I just noticed I was falling sick every couple of weeks. I would get a little bit of a cold, or cough, or sore throat, and then they would show up. And then every time they would show up, it would be worse than before. So several months went by, or maybe 2 months, and I noticed this was the third time I felt sick in 2 months, and that the acne or the boils I had on my back and my body were so much more than before. It was super scary. I was really scared. And I went to see a dermatologist, and she says, oh, this is, well, first of all, she scared me. That I've noticed is a common pattern. There's a lot of fear. I had this blood in my ears recently, and they said, oh, you might have, burst this or burst that, or you could have a long-term effect, and it was nothing. It was just a scratch. And even with this, she said, yeah, it could be an autoimmune disease. That's what it looks like because it's getting worse. And I think at some point I heard pre-leukemia or something. It was scary. Okay. And so her solution was ultimately, after doing a skin biopsy, which I still have a scar for, was we're just going to put you on extremely high steroids, like 100x the dose you get over the counter, and that will make all those boils go away. And I said, okay, is that really the solution? Like, what's causing these boils? She said, we don't know. Some people get it. My gosh, I tell you, that is just a general, not normal doctor response. We don't know what the root cause is. Okay, but what they do know what solves that specific symptom. So she knew that using these steroids will make all these boils on my skin go away. But there's something causing these. It'll go away from my skin, but then what's going to happen with whatever is causing it, right? So I scheduled an appointment with my naturopath again. And so I saw her and I said, this is happening. And she was at a loss at first. So actually I did see her first, and she said, I'm at a loss, I'm not sure, so let's start figuring it out, right? Process of elimination. So she said, let's go see a dermatologist and see what the results are, and then come back to me from those results. We'll figure it out. So when I went and saw my dermatologist, I came back to her and I said, here are the results of the skin biopsy, and she read it. And I was like, basically the solution is just use steroids. And she said, that's not going to work because that'll make the problems on my skin, surface of my skin, go away. But the root cause is there somewhere. So it's going to create problems elsewhere. Maybe I'll start seeing some other issues, not on my skin, but somewhere else, right? Because we're not working on the root cause. And I said, yes, I'm with you on that. So she didn't really get, so we were just, trying to figure out, right, okay, let's see dermatology side. If it's a skin only issue, it wasn't. I mean, yeah, she read the results and she says, no, that's not it. And, we did a general blood test and nothing really showed up that was of concern, general virus or something. So she said, okay, so it's nothing obvious. So now let's dig deeper. And she says, there's a couple other things like, it could be mono. And I said, yeah, I did have mono 10 years ago, and it was very mild, and it kind of went away on its own, and I never really did anything about it. So she says, yeah, mono can cause these itchy boils on our skin. So she said, okay, let's do a special blood test and see if you have a really high mono count in your body. I was like, what, really? But shouldn't I have mono symptoms? And so she said, usually when somebody gets mononucleosis, the virus stays in the body forever, right? Any kind of virus, it stays in our body. It's just about our immune system keeping it suppressed and maintaining that virus at a very, very low count. So I was surprised. I did not know that. Wow, it's pouring outside all of a sudden. Okay, so we did a specialty blood test, and there was like this category, 1 through 5, 1 being the lowest and 5 being like super high. And I came with 5 plus or whatever count of the monovirus. I had extremely high monovirus in my body. So we drilled down to the root cause, we figured it out. And so she put me on this crazy regimen. This was a different doctor now, because my other doctor had become a fantasy writer. So this one was Jenna Riototi. Okay, so I finally figured out that I had, really high mono virus, and she did put me in peat baths that helps cleanse the body, and I did that first once every week, and then once every 2 weeks, and then once a month, and then I stopped that after 4 or 5 peat baths. With that, I took a very high vitamin A dose and like 4 or 5 other things, mushrooms for immune support and other things. And then it was a 6-month process of, every week I take this much dose of I had this high dose and this low dose, and then I change it. And I start with a very, very high dose of everything, I believe, and then I slowly reduce it every week. So I had to really map a whole chart out for 6 months. And the last month was just all the same. So anyway, it changed on a weekly basis first, and then bi-weekly the dose, and then every month or something like that. And yes, I finished my 6-month dose. It was quite a lot to monitor. And here I am, right? I feel a lot, I have a lot more energy in general. I don't have that lethargy. I don't get sick that every couple of weeks, right? And so that was great. That was really, really great. And now what has happened? So that problem is resolved, by the way, right? Boom, done, over, super happy. Okay, now the reason that prompted this video is I have a bacterial infection, and it just kind of made me remember, is like, I've been taking antibiotics, and I think the bacteria has become antibiotic resistant. That's not really great. So I've gone to doing herbs now because I have this recurring UTI that's not going away. And apparently if you take D-mannose along with some other things, because the bacteria can just attach to the uterus, the bladder, that no matter how much you try to flush it, it's just there, it's stuck. So D-mannose is type of a sugar that can help it deattach and flush out of the system. So came back to herbs again, and so I just thought, I should do a video about this. There's recurring issues in our body. Go, if you're facing this, go see a naturopath. I'm telling you, it's going to make a huge difference on your life, on your health, on your energy levels. Allopaths are great when there is something, like surgery that you have to do, or then you go to a surgeon, I suppose. I don't even know what a general doctor, an allopath that's an MD, would be even useful for. I think they need to become obsolete. We need to have naturopaths as general medicine doctors, family doctors, and then we need to have surgeons when you just absolutely need surgery. And that's about it. That's really that would make a huge difference in everybody's life. So we stop getting just random surgeries and other things done. So anyway, here's wishing you great health